Some police officers have been caught allegedly escorting a huge shipment of illicit cigarettes. Tax Justice SA says this proves authorities have lost control and that some police are colluding with organized crime networks. Reports say an LP gas tanker and another truck filled with 500,000 packs of cigarettes worth some 12 million rand was stopped in Limpopo province. A marked police bakkie and a white VW Golf GTI were allegedly escorting these shipments. TJSA founder Yusuf Abramjee says the country urgently needs an inquiry into the cigarette industry and the enforcement agencies meant to control it. Let's talk to Yusuf now. Good afternoon, Yusuf. Welcome to Today. Just give us a little bit more details. When did this alleged crime happen?
Good afternoon, Dan. This incident took place on Saturday when police in the area noticed two police vehicles, one an unmarked VW GTI Golf, which we now believe belongs to the Hawks. In fact, it is assigned to a colonel at the Hawks in Pretoria, and another marked police bakkie, marked Silverton, were traveling outside Marble Hall in Limpopo when they spotted the gas tanker together with at least 2 or 3 trucks loaded with cigarettes. They stopped them. The 2 police officials in the vehicles, possibly even more, then fled. They escaped, and police then seized the truckloads and the gas tanker filled with Remington Gold, other products of the controversial company Gold Leaf Tobacco, based in Zimbabwe and South Africa. Up to a few minutes ago, National Police couldn't confirm the seizure nor any arrest being made, saying the matter was being investigated. We have the name of the colonel allegedly implicated. I've written to the Minister of Police, the National Commissioner, as well as the head of the Hawks, calling for a full-scale investigation because then we know that the illicit trade in South Africa is rampant. About 20 billion rand is lost annually because of illicit cigarettes. We know that SARS officials were previously implicated at our borders, other ones taking bribes. We know there have been allegations of police escorting the trucks, protecting some of the people involved within the illicit trade, the syndicates, and here is proof again. And really, we as the NGO at Tax Justice South Africa, together with my fellow directors, are now calling for a full-scale national inquiry, a commission of inquiry into the illicit trade. For how long is it going to continue? We are really very, very worried at the mass scale, the mass looting, and the role of corrupt government officials and police officials and SARS officials who are complicit within the illicit trade, Dan.
Yeah, because if you say it's from Gold Leaf in Zimbabwe, it means it was coming across our border. Customs would have been able to check and see what kind of product was being hidden there, and then the rest is history. You say you, as Tax Justice SA, have written to the authorities. Any response yet, Yusuf?
No, the letter went off about an hour ago. I'm waiting for them to come back to us. And you know, you talk of smuggling, Dan. We know that during the lockdown ban on cigarettes and alcohol, the smuggling of specifically Remington Gold and other cigarettes from Zimbabwe into South Africa was happening on a mass scale. That has not stopped. In fact, we have footage and we have videos, and we know the South African National Defence Force continues to arrest people smuggling cigarettes from Zimbabwe into South Africa. In fact, our borders are a problem. Just this weekend, I tweeted a video of the Zimbabwean border. In fact, no border, no custom officials, no home affairs officials, no soldiers, no police. People simply walking in from Zimbabwe near Bay Bridge into South Africa. There's a large truck waiting, and I think the count was about 80 people, Zimbabweans, undocumented, taking refuge in the back of the truck and making their way into South Africa. We know that the borders are not policed well, and that has been a problem. Gold Leaf Tobacco, we know, has its headquarters in Johannesburg. That's the controversial company then implicated within the illicit trade. We know that the South African Revenue Service late last year, appointed a curator to take over the running of this business, allegedly implicating the company and some of its directors, as well as bank officials, in money laundering and other alleged crimes. And that matter is still before the North Gauteng High Court. So the SARS are claiming they're owing millions and millions of rands in taxes, and we eagerly are waiting to see what court decisions and what action will be taken.
Now, the inquiry you as Tax Justice SA are calling for, what would you hope it will create to prevent such illicit trading?
Then we hear these allegations of corruption within law enforcement and other agencies over and over again. We've repeatedly called for action and decisive action. Clearly, the authorities are not taking action. For example, various programs, including Crime Watch on eNCA, which I host, we've showed over and over again how brazenly and how openly you can buy illicit cigarettes for anything from 5 Rand to 10 Rand to even 15 Rand for a packet of 20. And yet the minimum collectible tax on a packet of 20 cigarettes is about 22 Rand. So clearly the taxes are not being paid. We've asked for, as Tax Justice, to say, why don't you install cameras at all the factories to monitor the movement, to monitor the production lines, and very little has happened. We want government to take action and take action decisively. This thing has been carrying on for years. Billions of rands get lost, the money needed for ESCOM, for other entities, for service delivery, and yet it's going directly then into the pockets of these criminals. And we are now saying we are sick and tired, we are fed up, and Tax Justice wants an inquiry so that we can get to the bottom of it, and government can really then come with decisive and firm action.
Now, finally and very briefly, Yusuf, in this case in Limpopo now of this illicit transporting of cigarettes allegedly from gold leaf in Zimbabwe, were there any arrests? These supposed police who were escorting it allegedly, were they arrested?
No. Then as far as we know, they fled. We've given a name to the Minister, the National Commissioner, of a colonel allegedly involved, and we want them to immediately take action and to arrest the suspects. And also we want to know what's happened to the other people, the truck drivers. Why were they not arrested? We also know that certain documents were seized. I have copies of it, allegedly where the cigarettes were going to and how much was supplied. And that is why we want SARS to also get involved, and we want the National Commissioner, we want the head of SARS to answer and to say what action will be taken, because very often we know these cases get exposed, no arrest get made, within a few days it's forgotten. And we don't want this thing to go on the sidelines. We want the action to be taken, we want them arrested, we want them charged, and we want them to be convicted.